Hello students, Principles of Management, BBA first year, first semester. Now we are in Unit 2, Planning and Decision Making. In today's lesson, let us discuss regarding planning, advantages, disadvantages and characteristics. Let us discuss about the process of planning. Let us focus on the objectives, importance, features and guidelines of planning. So, let us define planning and let us know about the significance of planning. Planning is the function that determines in advance what should be done. It consists of selecting the enterprise objectives, policies, programs, procedures, and other means of achieving these objectives. Again, I repeat, planning is the function that determines in advance what should be done. It consists of selecting the enterprise objectives, policies, programs, procedures, and other means of achieving these objectives. We have another definition: the selection from among all alternatives for future course of action for the enterprise as a whole and each department with it. Planning is deciding in advance what is to be done. It involves the selection of objectives, policies, procedures, and programs among the alternatives. So, in simple words, planning can be defined as a process which involves deciding the future course of action in order to achieve the goal. That is very important. So, what you are doing, planning is nothing but you are deciding the future course of action for what? To achieve the goal. You have a goal. To achieve the goal, you are planning. That's all. Planning is a process that includes explaining the goals of an organization, creating and developing an overall strategy for setting the goals, and developing a complete set of plan for integrating and coordinating the organizational work. So, planning is the process. It explains the goals of the organizations, and what it will do, it develops a strategy for achieving the goals, and it develops a set of planning, and it integrates, coordinates the organizational work. Now let us focus on the importance of planning. We have 10 important points with respect to the significance or importance of planning. First point, it focuses on provides direction. Planning, what it will do? It directs you. Planning directs the whole organization and the management functions such as staffing, organizing, controlling, directing, etc. So therefore, here what we are doing, the whole organization involves. Everyone, they will be taking the responsibility, and every once with a planned effort, each and every department is working, definitely we can achieve the goal. So planning, the main important function or important what we can know about planning here is it provides direction to the organization. Next, planning provides a holistic picture of results, helps in evaluating the effect of the plan on the organization, its people, stakeholders. It also assesses the efforts, cost, and its effect on the organization. It helps the management to a great extent. So, with planning, the managers they can. It is very much useful to the managers, and accordingly, they can achieve the results. So, planning is very important for the organization. So you can evaluate your plan, you can think about your stakeholders, and you can assess the efforts. What are the efforts you are doing, making? Are they fruitful? Okay, and what is the cost on the organization? That means whether whatever you are spending, is it getting result or not? Everything you can know because of the planning. So it gives a holistic picture of results. Next, it coordinates actions. Planning is a process which helps the manager to analyze whether to complete the task or not. It provides an aid in developing the details of who, what, when, where, why, and how of the task. So this is very important. So you can know who is doing the work, what is it doing, when will the work will be completed, okay, where, why we are doing, how we can achieve the task, everything. So it coordinates all the actions, and also there will be, it avoids the haphazard actions and results in greater coordination. So that is about the planning. Next, fourth important significance of planning is economical. Planning helps in optimum utilization of the resources which are available in the organization. It reduces wastage and redundancy. Good results can be obtained with less cost because of better planning. Planning helps in analyzing. That means through which resources can be used fully. So economy is very important. So based on the planning, you can be very much less cost effective, and you are very much economic way you can do your work. So optimum utilization of resources will take place, and you can reduce the wastage, and also you can expect good results. Okay. Next, planning reduces risk and uncertainties. Planning tries to reduce the future uncertainties. How you can achieve this? By attempting to understand various future conditions. Planning helps in making various action plans for facing the uncertainties in such a way that it does not affect the objectives of the organization. See, it is very important. You have certain objectives, and it is our bounded responsibility, bounded duty to see that our organizational goals are achieved. Sometimes we face some difficulties, but how the planning, what it will do, you can overcome such difficulties, such challenges. How I can overcome these challenges? For this, planning plays a very important role. And when you over these future uncertainties, when you reduce them, definitely you can achieve your goals, your objectives of the organization. Next, sixth important point is the planning forecasts the required resources. It enables the manager to aware the required resources. What are the resources required for future? This further helps the manager to organize for the required resources in time. It does not affect the organization. Contingent plans are provided by planning, which helps in facing up the situations of lack of resources in the future. So these are the such plans. What they help you, you can overcome the lack of resources. See, resources play a very, very important role. If the resources are not available, you can't take up the task or you can't achieve your objectives. So, therefore, we have to plan in advance what are the resources required to fulfill our objectives. So, therefore, planning always it forecasts the required resources necessary for the organization. Next, good decision making can be taken place. Because of planning, good decisions can be taken. Good planning helps in good decision making process as it takes into consideration all the critical factors. Planning makes sure that the manager becomes aware of the importance in which different decisions and actions are to be taken. So once you are having good plan, definitely your decision making will be good. Okay, and this is very, very important. Both are depending on one another. Good planning, better planning leads to better decision making. Okay, so planning also helps the manager to comprehend the consequences. So a better planning is there. The manager can easily can know the what will be the consequences and how he has to do his action or something like that. So therefore, good decision making requires good planning. Next, it is teamwork. Planning helps in building up the team by allocating different responsibilities to different people according to their capabilities and skills or talents. See, this is very important. We have to see a skilled person is on the job such that you can achieve good result. So therefore, you can plan the team accordingly. You can allocate the task and you can see that they take up the job with full enthusiasm. So that teamwork also requires planning. So planning is very important for teamwork, and planning helps the organization to know about the technical development. Here planning helps the organization to evaluate the need and required technology. Accordingly creates plans for its integration in an efficient way using less amount. So as globalization and modernization, we are very much depending on the technology. So a planned manager, planning helps to acquire the new technology, required technology. Once you have the technology, you can produce with the less amount, and also the quality of the goods can be improved, efficiency can be improved. So therefore, with planning, you can concentrate on the technological aspects also. And finally, we have better control. Planning always provides in creating and promoting good controlling mechanisms for standards. You can have quality, you can have some time limit, time within this stipulated period, such work has to be completed, this much of output should be there. See, some type of control mechanism you can develop based on your planning. And you can have with planning controlling is possible. Without planning, controlling is not possible. And on the other hand, controlling mechanisms help in better implementation of the plans in order to achieve the given objectives or set of objectives. So in this way, we have studied about the definition of planning, importance of planning. Now, let us go further. We have some principles of planning. Let us let us discuss in detail regarding the principles of planning. Here I will be discussing some 9 principles. The first principle is related to contribution to objectives. So, principle relating to contribution to objectives. A plan should be formulated in such a way that each component of the plan must help in the attainment of organizational objectives. So, your plan always has to focus on your organizational objectives. Whether my plan is going to help to achieve the objectives of the organization, in that way we have to think. So therefore, you have to formulate a plan such that you are able to attain your organizational objectives. So the first principle is relating to contribution to objectives. Second important principle is principle of primary. Planning is the primary. It means first and foremost function of management, which is carried out in the management process, followed by other functions. So first is planning. Next comes your organizing, staffing, directing, controlling. So it is a primary function, foremost important function. So that is the principle of primary. Second one is principle of pervasiveness. Planning is all pervasive function. It spreads all the levels of management. Everywhere we require this planning. Whether it is top level, middle level or low level management, you require planning. So therefore, planning is all pervasive. Fourth principle, principle of flexibility. A good plan must be made highly flexible to be adjustable to the changes in the circumstances. It should not be rigid, it should be flexible. When the plan is flexible, accordingly you can change it, you can alter it, you can use it. So therefore, you have to develop a plan in such a flexible way, it suits your organization. A good plan must be made highly flexible, adjustable to the changes in the circumstances. That is very important. Next is a principle of periodicity. Periodicity. Organizational objectives can be effectively and efficiently achieved in the long term, medium term and short term. And what we have to see that all these are integrated and interrelated, okay, with our organizational requirements. Every time we have to focus on our organizational objectives and we have to keep our organizational objectives in view, and accordingly, whether it is a long-term plan, medium-term plan or short-term plan, it should be integrated to our organizational objectives. Okay, so every time we have to focus on the organizational objectives and how my plan is going to help it, how my plan is effective and efficient. We have to focus on the organizational objectives. Accordingly, we have to use our planning mechanism such that we achieve our organizational objectives. Next principle is the principle of planning premises. Planning premises relates to the plans which are based on the carefully considered assumptions and predictions. It helps in developing consistent and coordinated plans. See, your plan should be suitable. Whatever you are predicting, it should be achievable. Okay, whatever your assumptions are there or predictions are there, they should be very much nearer to your planning, and also you should be in a position to achieve them. So therefore, developing consistent and coordinated plans are very much required. So it should be consistent and it should be coordinated. Okay, coordinated with our organizational objectives or coordinated with other departments, and overall our planning should help in achieving our organizational goals and objectives. Next is the principle of operational efficiency. Efficient realization of plans can be attained when every plan is designed with components like objectives, strategies, policies, procedures, schedules, and budgets. So, how can we attain these plans? Only through certain designing or the components of objectives, strategies. They all help us in having a suitable plan, and for this principle of operational efficiency is one of the principles of planning. And we have another principle of planning which is called principle of limiting factors. The different limiting factors which need to be considered while preparing a plan are money, manpower, machinery, material, and management. So whenever we have a plan, you have to focus on the factors of money, manpower, machinery, material, and management. And finally, we have the principle of revision. Periodic evaluation of events and decisions must be done in order to redraw, readjust the plans whenever required. The plan should be developed as per the provisions and revisions for such changes. So these are the points which we have to focus on, the principles of planning. Now let us focus on the planning advantages, disadvantages, and also the characteristics of planning. First, let us concentrate on the advantages and limitations of planning. So again, let us define planning. Planning can be defined as a process which involves deciding the future course of action in order to achieve the goal. Planning is a process that includes explaining the goals of an organization, creating and developing an overall strategy for achieving the goals, and developing a complete set of plans for integrating and coordinating the organizational work. So, here with this, we have defined the planning. So, therefore, now let us focus on the advantages of planning. We have some 5 advantages and 5 disadvantages. First, let us focus on the advantages. First advantage is provides direction. Planning provides direction. Second one is it reduces risk and uncertainties. It helps in good decision making. Planning helps to have teamwork. Planning helps in technical development. So direction. Planning directs the whole organization and the management functions such as staffing, organizing, controlling, and directing. Reduces risk and uncertainty. Planning tries to reduce the future uncertainties by attempting to understand various future conditions. Planning helps in making various action plans for facing the uncertainties in such a way that it does not affect the objectives of the organization. Third advantage is planning helps in good decision making. Good planning helps in good decision making process. It takes into consideration all the critical factors. Planning makes sure that the manager becomes aware of the importance in which different decisions and actions are to be taken. It also helps the manager to comprehend the consequences of his action. Next, advantages. Planning helps in building up the teamwork by allocating different responsibilities to different people which are suitable to their capabilities, skills or talents. We can achieve our organizational objectives very easily. Next one is technical development. Planning helps the organization to evaluate the need of adequate and required technology and accordingly creates plans for its integration in an efficient way using less amount. Next, coming to the disadvantages of planning. Disadvantages: incorrect information, time consuming, expensive, inflexible, insecurity. First point: incorrect information. Incorrect information acts one of the limitations of planning. A successful plan needs accurate information on the basis of which decisions are made. The quality of planning would degrade if incorrect information is used for long term and strategic planning. Thus, plans made on inadequate information would result in failure. So, therefore, information which we are receiving should be correct. Otherwise, whatever planning we are making, it leads to failure because of the incorrect information. Second disadvantage is time consuming process. Planning is not done and cannot be done in a day or two. The more detailed the planning is, the greater time it would take. Managers spend greater time on collecting information and taking decisions for enhancing the accuracy of planning. This would result in a delay of plan implementation, which further results in loss of opportunities. So, if you have a proper plan and if you are able to implement in a quicker way, you can have the number of opportunities can be utilized. If we are delaying the planning, what happens? No, we are further it results in loss of opportunities for the firm. Third disadvantage is expensive. Planning is not an easy task. It involves expenditure for collecting and testing various information for different tasks. Planning cannot be practiced by the small organizations. And fourth disadvantage is inflexible. Planning results in inflexibility of an organization. As the plans are made and implemented, the whole organization begins to focus upon that plan only. This discourages the creativity and innovations in the organization. Due to this reason, the small organizations are able to challenge the larger ones. Insecurity. It is the basic assumption of the manager that once the plan is created, the implementation of it would go on smoothly. This may not be possible each and every time. If the plans are not reviewed and revised from time to time, it may result in delay of the plan implementation. So these are the advantages and disadvantages of planning. Now let us focus on the characteristics of planning. So we have around 10 characteristics. The first characteristic of planning is a basic management function. Planning is the foundation of management. It is the first and foremost activity or the function of management. Planning is done at each level for each and every management function, such as organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. So it is the basic management function. Second characteristic is planning is an intellectual process. Planning is an intellectual process as it includes innovative thinking, imagination, forecasting, making good judgment and decision making process about various activities of an organization. Planning cannot be done in a day or two. It is an organizational process and involves creation, refinement, maintenance of a plan, and also integrating the plan with other plans. So it is an intellectual process. Third characteristic is planning is object oriented. Planning is a process which is used to analyze the vision, mission, goals, and objectives of the business. Planning helps in making plans for individuals, groups, and organization in order to achieve their goals or objectives. Planning is future oriented. Planning is imaginative in nature. It anticipates the things to take place in future. It involves imaginary, anticipatory decision making process which analyzes the future course of action. The importance of planning is forecasting, which helps in preparing the manager for future. Planning is flexible in nature. Plans are made flexible in nature. They provide the likely action plans for various conditions such as optimistic, realistic, and pessimistic situations. The plan should be so flexible, it must be capable of being changed with the changing circumstances. Plan must also provide a contingency plan in addition to the main plan, as this would help the managers to be ready for the changing situations. So always the planning should not be rigid. The planning should be flexible, and we should have some alternative plan, alternative course of action. If anything happens, if we are not able to implement the major plan, the alternative plan, with the alternative plan we have to go ahead. Therefore the planning should be flexible, and we have to see that our organizational objectives are achieved without any delay or without any problem. Next is planning is a rational approach. Rational means a realistic approach. Planning is considered as a rational approach. It provides several alternatives to the firm to attain the goals and objectives of the firm. It enables the organization to select a suitable approach for dealing with a given problem or situation. Planning is a tool to efficiency and economy. Planning acts as a tool to enhance the efficiency of the effort employed for carrying out business activities. It helps in effective utilization of manpower and resources such as material, capital, missions, etc. It helps in achieving organizational goals with controllers, duplication of efforts, and limited resources. Planning is a coordinator. Planning coordinates various activities of the organization. It connects, coordinates the activities of various segments of an organization. It helps in coordinating the activities towards achieving the organizational goals. Planning is realistic. Planning is realistic as it is based on predictions rather than wishful thinking. It analyzes the efforts on basis of hard realities and helps in attaining objectives of the firm. It mainly involves future forecasts for designing appropriate plan to deal with the upcoming situation. Planning is a continuous process. It is a continuous process. It requires modification in the plan based upon the situation. Manager needs to make necessary changes in the plan whenever required. In order to achieve organizational goals, managers continuously they have to examine and redesign the plan. Now coming to the process of planning. Process of planning. Here in the process we have 5 steps. Creative awareness, setting goals, assumptions, analyzing course of actions, establishing supportive plans. Creating awareness. Here the first step, it is the first step in the planning process. The manager creates the foundation for developing the plan. The foundation determines the organization's present position, its commitment, identifies the strengths, weaknesses, and what are the set visions for the future. So this is the first step in the process of planning is we are creating an awareness. Next comes the setting the goal. Setting goals is the second step of planning. It involves setting the goal and developing a direction to achieve. A student like BBA, for example, let us take BBA student. He has to complete the course successfully, then only he can get the degree. Similarly, managers at different levels in the organization, they have to set goals. The managers develop a detailed network of organizational plan to achieve their goals. So everywhere, if you are a student or if you are a manager, we have to set goals and we have to work on the goals and we have to achieve the goals. That is called setting goals. Next one is assumptions. The third step is establishing or creating assumptions on the basis of which action statements are made. The success and the quality of the plan to a great extent depends upon the quality of the assumptions made. Till the end of planning, these assumptions must be evaluated, checked and updated. Managers usually make these assumptions by taking into consideration both the external and internal environment. Analyzing course of action. The fourth step is analyzing course of action in the process of planning. This step helps the manager to decide the way to shift or move ahead from the present position towards their goals. They create an action statement which includes what is to be done, when, how, and who is going to do it, and so on. The course of action would analyze the way of moving from the present position to the desired set position. Selecting a course of action includes analyzing the alternatives by conducting research, experimenting, and experiencing it. Soon after this, the alternatives are assessed which help in achieving the goals, and accordingly a course of action is selected. Establishing supportive plan. Usually the planning process gets interrupted with the general plan. Managers are required to develop one or two supportive or derivative plans to what we call in order to explain their general plan. For instance, if the organization takes up a decision to reduce the employee turnover by making a change from 5-day 40 hours work week to 4-day 40 hours work week, then this change would require several other supportive plans. Organization needs to plan for the overtime, arranging the meetings, taking phone calls, and also dealing with the customers and suppliers. So whenever you should have a supportive plan to the general plan. If you have that supporting plan, then you can convince and you can implement the plan. So these are the steps which we have to follow in the process of planning: creating awareness, setting goals, assumptions, analyzing the course of action, and establishing a supportive plan. Now let us focus on the objectives or the importance of planning. So here objective refers to an outcome which an organization aims at achieving in the long run. Objective is a final outcome or it is an end point. Okay. In other words, objective is an expected outcome, organizational efforts made towards the achievement of the outcome. The probability of success in achieving objectives is more in situations where objectives are set and understood properly. So we should have certain objectives. We have to understand those objectives. Then only we can achieve those objectives through proper planning. Objectives make individuals and organizations dedicated towards measurable attainments. Objectives states the scope of future outcome. Objectives show direction depending upon which activities to be performed or decided. They state the activities to be undertaken today to achieve the future outcome. Now let us focus on the importance of objectives. First importance or first significance of the planning objective is coordinate decisions and decision makers. The objectives set in an organization put restriction on the employees' activities and make them work towards achievement of objectives. Objectives coordinate decision making process through various employees. So, in the importance of objective, the first point focuses on the coordinate decisions and decision makers. So you have certain decisions, you have decision makers, coordinate them. Decision makers, decision. You have to coordinate. Okay, then only we can achieve the objectives. So first is one, it focuses on the coordinating decision making process through various employees. Next comes serve as standards for measuring organizational performance. Apart from showing a direction to the organization, objectives state the final goals and targets which organization is required to achieve. These targets and goals serve as an standard for measuring organizational performance. So if you are able to achieve your objective means your performance is good, your organizational performance is good. So therefore the target and goal and these goals serve as standards for measuring the organizational performance. Next one is demonstrate the changes in the environment. Objectives are changed as per the changes taking place in the internal and external environment of the organization. Objectives define the organization to the stakeholders in the environment, customers, creditors, government, society come under the stakeholders prevailing in the environment. Objectives define the organization to these stakeholders. What we are doing, what is our objective, we can tell to the stakeholders confidently if we have objectives for the organization. Objectives assist in setting strategies. Organization mission statement is converted into objectives and the objectives are taken as a basis for setting strategies. Now let us focus on the characteristics of objectives. Objectives are interdependent and form a network. Objectives of the business organization are interdependent and mutually supporting. As such, they create or form a network. The employees of different levels of the organization follow the policies that are helpful to the whole company. As all the objectives of organization combine in, they need to be a network accomplished simultaneously. Objectives are plural or multiple in nature. According to Drucker, business objectives are multiple in nature. The search for one objective is essentially search for a magic formula that will make judgment unnecessary. Based on this statement, it can be understood that objectives of the business organization are plural or multiple in nature. The main objective of a business organization is to earn more profits. In addition to this, the business organization will have other objectives like expanding the business, maximizing flow of goods, overcoming the competitors, etc. Therefore, objectives of the business are always multiple in nature. Objectives are both long term and short term. Objectives of the organization are long term as well as short term. Long term objectives would be the objectives which are to be accomplished within a period of 5 to 10 years. They include survival of business, growth of the organization. On the other hand, the short term objectives of the organization are individual assignments and departmental goals of the organization that are to be accomplished within short period of 1 year. These objectives may include increasing profits, maximizing sales, market standards, etc. Objectives are verifiable. The objectives of the business are verified generally by expressing them in numeric terms. Verifying the objectives of the organization is the main factor for the success of the business. In personal department, even though the numerical expression of objectives is not possible, the verification of objectives is done indirectly. The objectives which can be verified give guidelines to the measurement of actual performance and helps in evaluating the success or failure of the business. Objectives are general or specific. Objectives of the business organization may be general or specific. General objectives enables coordination among the individuals of the organization. Specific objectives they focus on the purpose of the individual activities of the organization. Objectives are tangible or intangible. Organization can be tangible or intangible. Objectives of the organization regarding the performance of managers, workers' morale, etc. cannot be calculated, hence they are intangible. On the other hand, marketing standards, productivity can be calculated. They are tangible in nature. Coming to the guidelines for formulating the objectives. We have 5 guidelines. Set objectives based on the organization's overall objectives. Objectives of various departments of the organization such as marketing, production, finance, human resource, research and development should be set based on the organization's overall objectives, and objectives of each unit must be set taking departmental objectives as basis. In simple terms, objectives must be interrelated across the organization. Objectives must be attainable. Objectives must be challenging. At the same time, they must be attainable. Objectives which can be attained in the long run should not be set for short run. Objectives must be specified in simple terms which can be remembered easily. Avoid setting too many objectives. One manager should not be given too many objectives, as too many objectives give rise to confusion and negligence. If too many objectives are given to a person, there are chances where person focus more on less important objectives and focus on more essential objectives. See here, we have to, if he is overburdened, the manager, with too many objectives, he can't achieve them. So therefore, every manager should be given some limited targets to limited objectives, and we have to ask him to fulfill them, to achieve them. That is very important. Objectives should be in balance. The various objectives of the organization should not overemphasize on one situation. More emphasis may be laid on objective of customer service than compared to objective of profit enhancement. A satisfied customer, automatically he comes to our organization, automatically the profit will increase. So this is very important. We have to prioritize. So satisfaction of customer is very important. In the same way, focus should be laid on objective of management development and objective of profit and growth of the entire organization. So once you concentrate on management development, definitely you can expect a profit. So this how to prioritize it, what objective should be prioritized, which has to be given importance, that is very, very important. Objectives must give some amount of challenge for attaining them. Majority of the people make efforts towards attainment of objectives. Objectives pose some amount of challenge. Challenge motivates people to work. Objectives must give some amount of challenge for the attainment of objectives. It motivates the individual, it makes him to work, and he feels proud that he has achieved that goal or something like that. So challenge is very important. It should have some challenge to attain them. Next, let us study about strategy, characteristics of strategies. A strategy acts as a source for attaining the objectives. It is an amalgamated or integrated plan which helps in connecting all the components of an organization together. A strategy is formulated mainly for assuring the organizational objectives or effectively attaining by implementing it effectively in the organization. The firm can attain competitive advantage with the help of its unique capability to perform the things uniquely and effectively when compared to its competitors. The unique capability includes specialized skill, expertise, knowledge, superior quality, etc. The basic principle of strategy is to match or fit the strength and unique capabilities of the firm with the terrain in such a manner that the firm's business can be benefited by attaining the competitive advantage over the competitors competing in the same terrain. A strategy is a unified, comprehensive, and integrated plan which associates the firm's strategic advantages with the environmental challenges. So therefore, it is a source for attaining the objectives. Strategy is nothing but a source to attain the objectives. Now let us focus on the characteristics of strategies. It is long-term oriented and deals with long-term objectives. It is concerned with the scope of the organization activities. It aims in achieving long-term benefits for the organization like competitive advantage. It is basically regarded as the strategic fit which matches with the business environment. It also demands major resource changes for an organization in the future. It generates various opportunities by developing the resources and capabilities of an organization. It is influenced not only by the environmental forces and strategic capability, but also by the values and expectations of those people who have authority in and around the organization. So that is regarding the strategy and the characteristics. So just we have got some idea about the planning in the unit of principles of management. Just we got an idea regarding the significance of planning and principles of planning. We got advantages, disadvantages of planning, characteristics of planning, objectives of planning. So with this we stop here and let us continue in other class aspects like policies, features and importance of planning in the next class. Thank you very much.